Hello, and welcome to this webinar on healing your inner child. Now, this won't be very long. I'll keep it as short as possible. It's really, really important in terms of your personal development. In fact, I was going to say it's a milestone in personal development to heal your inner child. It's actually foundational. It's more than a milestone. You know, it's a bit like building a house without putting the foundations in. To be engaged in personal development and not have done your healing your inner child. So I just want to tell you about that. So um, I was around when the inner child concept first became popular. That was about in the late 1970s and early 80s. The recovery movement in Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon, and the whole children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families, that whole body of literature, and there were lots of workshops around at the time which encompassed the whole concept of healing your inner child. The feeling was that, well, not the feeling, there was lots of research and studies done on it, masses of literature and work done on the whole topic, that it was so important that early and childhood traumas or woundings, that it was addressed, because it was found that it would result in all kinds of addictions and dysfunctional behavior, and getting into relationships that weren't really right for you. So I think it's true to say that the original concept came from Carl Jung, and his work that he did on archetypes, one of which is the child archetype. So I don't want to go into a whole lot of theory on that. I'm just mentioning it's not new. It's been around for a long time. And most people got involved in that work back in the 80s and the 90s, and it seemed to die off a bit, and maybe it's coming back again. But the work that I'm doing, I see it as essential, really. So what it's based on is that as children, we, well, all of us, because we've all been children, that when we have what would be known as adverse childhood events, that the hurt, the pain, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, whatever way you want to look at it, any kind of injury, we hold it at a cellular level. And time goes on, and we don't have it in our conscious memory, but it's in our unconscious memory. And then, as we kind of grow up and we go to school, there's different times that can be a bit traumatic for a child. Anytime a child separated from its mother as an infant and a young child, they experience that as quite frightening and scary. So at those kind of milestone events, the child has a fear of being abandoned, and will develop coping mechanisms to deal with any scary events in life. Some children get sent off to boarding school. Some children are taken into care. Some children have childhood illnesses, or, have falls and breaks and time that they spend in hospital. It used to be that mums weren't allowed to stay in hospital with children, but they are now. But even so, it's not always possible for a parent to stay around with a child when they're in hospital. So, any kind of trauma or any separation from mum, or a situation where a child is in amongst strangers, they're in pain, they're in a strange environment, it can be quite terrifying. And particularly if it's medical situation where somebody's holding them and giving them injections or doing some procedures, that can feel like an assault on a child. You know, total strangers, maybe a very nice doctor, but the child doesn't know them. So we can actually be affected by all those things, and we carry the memories of them. Um, if our parents didn't get on very well, or if they had habits where they shouted at each other, or they had arguments, or there was a lot of conflict, or maybe one parent was alcoholic, or someone had mental health issues, or some parents still, I mean, when I was young, it was routine to slap children and to hit them, to socialize them. I mean, we know now that that's not an okay thing to do. And most parents don't do that, but some still do. So those are the kind of things that drop into our unconscious, and we carry them into later life, but you know, we've put them out of our awareness. So when we get older and we're in relationships with other people, whether it's in a workplace or with in an intimate relationship, there are times when those early unconscious memories get triggered. So usually they're triggered if we've kind of gone out of our comfort zone. For example, in work, if you were coming up to getting a promotion, now you might be delighted and pleased that you were getting a promotion, but actually when it comes to it, you can start feeling quite disturbed and anxious and feel not good enough, and all kinds of things come up. And sometimes people feel so anxious and not good enough, it's known as impostor syndrome, that they will actually turn down promotions and opportunities. I know I've done it. I've done it myself, opportunities for you know, senior positions. I've kind of gone into, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. It would be, I don't know if I want to do that, but actually it would be all the early anxieties getting churned out. So we all have triggers, and the triggers are usually triggering a fear or an anxiety. Um, uh, Usually it will be a fear of not being good enough, fear of being abandoned, fear of being rejected, and that kind of comes up in intimate relationships. So these things routinely come up every time we have a new threshold, whether it's a new partner, a new job or career opportunity, or even when we're moving house and there's extra financial commitment, even things that we want, there tends to be old feelings get triggered. Differences of opinion with your partner in adult life sometimes can get a bit serious. And, you know, I mean, nearly 50% of marriages can finish up in divorce. So clearly there's stuff that starts to happen and go wrong before they actually get to the divorce stage. And often it is it's old stuff that gets triggered, but couples think it's to do with them, and because that's what their conscious mind is telling them. I feel awful, I feel terrible, if there's some reason for it, it must be you, when actually it can be something that happened to us when we were um, like 4-year-old. So there's a lot more to all of this than meets the eye. Often in adulthood, we find ourselves with different events feeling deep sadness, feeling lost, lonely. Um, I don't know what to do. You know, it can be the breakdown of a relationship, it can be a bereavement, the sudden loss of a job, the sudden loss of anything can trigger it. And any times when there's uncertainty around, we can get these kind of lost, bewildered, I don't know what to do feelings, where we feel helpless and um, uh, hopeless even, those deep, deep feelings. And when you get to that depth of feeling and it seems to be disproportionate to what's in front of you, you can tell that that's an old triggered feeling from your inner child. So when things get very uncertain and those old feelings, hurt, bewildered, confused, fearful feelings come up, um, the tendency of a lot of people is to go into trying to control things, and your partner can experience you as controlling, or you may actually be witnessing this going on with a partner or people in work. Because people in work, it's like a substitute family, and it tends to replicate the kind of dynamics that went on in your family of origin. So lots of those kind of old feelings, you can do work to clear those feelings. I mean, I used to be beleaguered with those feelings. And I did actually have quite a bit of therapy as a young woman, which is why I do what I do now. So I didn't say who I am. I'm Grace Chatting, and I'm a psychotherapist and a life business and executive coach. I'm a family mediator, and I lead groups in coaching in personal development. So, so the thing is, how can you change this? So one of the things is to all those things that I've just mentioned to you is just acknowledge that yes, you do periodically have those times when you really feel in the pits. You feel so sad, so hurt, so bewildered, so helpless, so powerless, so hopeless, all of those things. And actually, it can keep you back in your progress through life. And it can become patterns. So either, you get stuck in jobs you don't want to be in, you want to leave, but you can't seem to leave. You get stuck in a home that you don't want to carry on being in. You get stuck in relationships you don't want to be in, and all those kind of things. So the first thing is to acknowledge that, yes, these are things that happen to you, probably reasonably frequently, regularly. And you just need to decide, yes, I'm going to set the intention. I'm going to deal with this. So, you can do self-help, and that, you can get a long way with self-help. So setting the intention is the first step. Get yourself a good journal, and keep, get a really nice one. um, I've got one here. I've got loads of journals, but like this is a nice one. It's you can't really see the colors very well. It's a lovely royal blue velvet. That's a little cat with a butterfly on, and it's got gold around the edges. I really like nice journals, and so it's valuable work. It's precious work that you're doing with your inner child, and it warrants being housed in something beautiful that gives you a sense of it being, it's sacred in a way. So get a lovely journal and decide that you're going to give this time and attention, and you're going to know thyself. Socrates had uh, over one of the, I can't remember which building it was in Athens, know thyself. And this is part of getting to know you. And look, other people can't really get to know you if you don't know yourself. You can't allow yourself to be known because you've got all these coping mechanisms keeping all the old stuff down, and all the behaviors that go into keeping it down. which really means that you're not ever really feeling relaxed enough to be yourself. So this journey it's the hero's or the heroine's journey into discovering the Holy Grail, which is yourself. So that's what you're embarking on. So when you start doing this work, you can open up to your family and start dropping being defensive about your history. You know, but because look, you're role modeling for your children all the time. You're role modeling all the behaviors that you get into and the patterns of behavior. Your children are downloading them. So by making some of these changes of taking time to get to know your unconscious and make your unconscious conscious. Until you do that, you don't really know yourself. Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will run your life and you will call it fate. And that for sure is true. So it's a bit like having an operating system. All the old messages and rules that came from your family of origin, and some of those may have been really good, which doesn't cause you a problem. Some of them may have been not so good, where a parent says, well, you know, oh, who do you think you are? You'd never be able to be that. Whatever it is, if you're saying, you know, you want to be a teacher or a doctor, you need to be clever to be that. So the inference is you're not clever, you're not good enough. And lots of messages along the lines of you're not good enough, you form the belief that you're not good enough. And that constantly, every time you go to progress, that gets triggered and comes up a feeling of, oh no, I'm not good enough. Everybody else is better at it than I am. So one of the things that you need to do in your journal is look at all the messages that you took on board from your family of origin, your extended family, your community, your school, your teachers, anything that said you're not enough, basically. But write them down. Who said it, when they said it. And of course, the younger you are when you hear these things, the more impressionable you are and the more it affects you. So so really, in effect, what you're doing is you're going to be uninstalling all parts of your software, your operating system, and you're going to be putting in some new messages that you are totally and completely acceptable just as you are. Those old messages don't apply to you anymore. That was then, all those years ago. This is now. You're quite accomplished now. You know, you're running your own life. You're not that child anymore. So you need to take the time and pay attention to your child as you would with a child of your own. So sit with your journal, write down the messages, and then write down all the rules that came out of those messages. And then all the limiting beliefs that you created about yourself, and there will be loads of them. I mean, for example, I have written and created loads of courses, books, all kinds of programs, and my hard disk is full of them. And really, it's only in more recent years that I realized that I had so much stuff, and I never got it out there, simply because I tracked it back to when I was about 6 in my primary school, like probably most primary schools. You know, once a week we would get painting, watercolor painting to do. And our teacher would always pin the 3 best paintings from the class. She'd pin them on the wall. And oh gosh, every week I was just so desperate for mine to be good enough for her to take and put on the wall. And it never, ever was. Now, she never said anything to me. I probably noticed some looks of that's not good enough, you know. But in my little 6-year-old mind, I formed a belief that anything that I create isn't good enough for everybody to see. And so I didn't realize that that belief was running my life. So I would write books and courses and finish them and never put them out for people to see. And I realized I had a 6-year-old running my life. So, I mean, that's just an example of the ways that you can hamper yourself. Like, nobody was being abusive to me. Nobody was being nasty to me. Nobody even said anything. This was just my observations of what was going on and my childish wishes and hopes and dreams and the conclusions I reached about myself and how that played out in my life. And that's only one bit. And there's probably masses of that stuff going on in your life that you just have no clue about because you've never really taken time to sit down and allow it to come up. So do start to pay attention and be present with yourself. Nurture yourself as if, you know, because this is your inner child. Sit with yourself, create a nice, comfortable place. And you'll find I have a Discover Your Inner Child audio, which I'll put the link down below, and you'll be able to access it so that you can go into guided imagery and you can discover your inner child and meet your inner child. So the other thing is, when you're doing this work, is just tune into your inner child and go out to play. Go out to play with your inner child. Go out in amongst the trees, the flowers, by the river, paddle, go to the beach, eat ice cream, do that stuff. And get in touch with the child in you again, the free child that liked to play and have fun before it was stifled, because the socialization process does tend to stifle you. So that's just the basics of it, and I hope you find that helpful. If you do want to really take this a bit more seriously and accelerate the journey, I have a 6-week course on healing your inner child, and the link will pop up somewhere here or down below in the description box. And I urge you to really see how important this work is. It absolutely changed my life and thousands of people that I have worked with over the years. It is absolutely pivotal. So I do hope to see you. Please leave your comments below and subscribe and click like. I'd love to hear what you've got to say, and I'd be delighted to engage with you on my 6-week course. And let's move your life on and start healing those whole old hurts and wounds. So I hope that was helpful. So bye for now. Bye.